to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel.
I just think leaders really they've got to create the kind of environment through their words and their communication that inspires people.
Get ready to be inspired and motivated to live a high impact life. Now, here's Rick. Welcome to the Point of Impact podcast. I am not Rick McDaniel. I'm Sean Anthony, and this is a special episode. Pastor Rick McDaniel, how are you?
Doing great, doing great, and great to have you on, Sean. So let's just tell everyone who you are. Sean Anthony, along with being a radio personality and a man of many hats, runs his own company, does a lot of cool stuff with a lot of interesting people, is the producer of the Point of Impact podcast. And so we thought for this special 250th episode, which is quite a milestone, that Sean would jump on behind the mic that he's very comfortable doing and interview me and ask me some really, I think, penetrating and insightful questions. I hope I have some insightful answers and kind of just to dig in a little deeper into the Point of Impact podcast and me and my thoughts. And so we're excited about sharing it with you today.
It is an honor and privilege to be able to interview you. I've done this like 2 or 3 times. We've done this 2 or 3 times throughout the years. It's been a while. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about this milestone, reflecting on it. First of all, congratulations on approaching 250 episodes of the Point of Impact podcast. What would you say has been the most surprising lesson you've learned from hosting this show and sharing weekly doses of motivation and insight with your audience?
Yeah, it's a great question. I gave it a lot of thought, and I kind of went in several different directions, but I'll tell you where I'm landing. And this may sound funny, but it's that I've had enough content to share for 250 episodes. Because here's the deal. You know, most podcasts are interview style. I was just down in Miami with 2 guys that have 2 of the biggest podcasts in America, and both of them are interview style podcasts. That's what most people do. And out of 250 episodes, there's probably been 10 or 12 times that I've interviewed someone, and all the rest of the episodes have just been me talking about various themes and topics. And so having enough content to share to fill up 250 episodes is really kind of amazing, even to me. And as I've kind of looked back and looked at what have we covered, and there are just a few themes that come up over and over again. By far, I would say the most popular is this large subject called success. I have just done episode after episode after episode on success. It is the number one by far. It's a big part of the new book that I'm writing. We can talk about that later. And then happiness is another big one. I just think people want to be successful. I think they want to be happy. Usually if you're successful, you are happy. Definitely according to my definition of success, for sure. So happiness is just another big one that comes up over and over again. Certainly job and career are big as well, because the biggest chunk of time that we spend every day of our lives, every week, is on our work. And so I never want to get too far away from that and just keep coming back to that. But it also, of course, affords me the opportunity to touch on whatever things interest me, whatever subjects grab my attention. It could be in more current things, or it could be stuff about sports or other things that when I was down there in Miami, one of the guys said to me, he goes, man, one of the guys that works with one of the podcast guys says, I didn't know you were such a diehard sports fan. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a diehard sports fan. You know that, Sean. And anyone who knows me knows that. So it gives me a chance to, do a lot of different things. And obviously, I love the opportunity to take inspirational, motivational content, and of course, filter it through a Christian worldview and a Christian foundation and understanding. So this is not like a Christian podcast where we just talk about the Bible or church and theology stuff. But it's also not just a motivational, inspirational podcast that has no connection we're kind of combining the two, and I really like that.
That's awesome. You mentioned that you're an author. We know that you're an author of 9 books, including one of my personal favorites, Turn Your Setbacks into Comebacks. That's a book that I refer to. I quote you on when I'm speaking, and it's a point of reference for me. But in your experience coaching individuals and teams, what is the most common setback people face today? And what is your actionable strategy for turning it into a comeback?
Yeah, it's funny. I just got interviewed from a guy who's based out of Cincinnati, no less, talking to another guy in Ohio about International Business Daily that comes out as a print and also online. He's interviewed me before on setbacks and comebacks based on my book. That's what originally got him interested in me. So again, just this week was interviewed about setbacks as it relates to teams, like not just sports teams, but like teams at work and teams in your organization. So it is my all-time best-selling book that I've ever written. It is a book that, has opened a lot of doors, and I've been on lots of broadcasts and talked to a lot of people about it. And I have to say, it's really hard for me to say there's just one common setback. And here's why, because I lump them into a category of common ones: relationships, like divorce, career, like losing your job, finances, like financial issues that come up. And these are so common that I couldn't grab one of those. They're almost equally a lot of relationship setbacks, a lot of financial setbacks, a lot of career setbacks, a lot of spiritual setbacks too. People just like kind of fall away from their relationship with God because of things that happen to them, disappointments. The old timers call it backsliding, whatever you want to call it. I may be talking to you today, like you used to go to church, you were very involved, and you read your Bible, you prayed, and now kind of that stuff's all gone. Somehow you've had a setback. So I don't know that there is one particular setback that is the most common of the setbacks. I think it's all of those. And by the way, health setbacks. Okay, that's another huge one. I mean, I just tore my quad squatting. 2 days ago.
You got to take some of those plates off the rack, Pastor.
I know, 410, knocking out reps like nothing. Jeez. But turns out that this time, and I'm baffled. I don't know what I did different. I didn't do anything different that I know of. So here I am just hobbling around and like, oh man, this stinks. But this stuff happens, right? I mean, these guys that tear their Achilles, why now? Like they play and it's not like they're old. Halliburton, Tatum, these guys are in their primes. So sometimes, you just don't know why. And sometimes you don't take care of yourself and you don't go to the gym, you don't eat right. Okay. So all those things I think are just common. I couldn't grab one, in all honesty. Now on the other side of it, like strategy, of course, I love to talk this. I'm very well known for my steps to a comeback and components to a comeback and things like exiting survival mode and dropping setback mentality. And I was talking in that interview about you got to have a comeback mentality. But if I was going to boil this down to one thing, Sean, I would say this: no one, absolutely no one has ever had a comeback that didn't make a change.
No.
You've got to make a change.
Yep. Absolutely.
That's the key thing. You must shift into a change mode. And of course, I just wrote about this recently about the Patriots. No team's ever gone from 4 wins to 17 wins and gone all the way to the Super Bowl. And their roster was the most changed roster of any in the NFL this past season. They had more player changes, a completely different roster in so many ways. Well, there it is.
Yep.
There it is. And I think you can already see the Raiders trying to do the same thing, trying to start in free agency and see if they can turn over this roster. Because a franchise that has their motto as commitment to excellence and stinks so bad. I mean, that's unbelievable, really, to me. Like, either stop saying commitment to excellence or get a better football team. So here we go. Maybe they're going to try this model. But if you want to have a comeback, you will have to change something.
Couldn't agree with you more. You know, working with you over the years, one consistent thing that always comes up is you're about to travel. You're about to go out of town somewhere. You've traveled to all 50 states and over 45 countries now to share your message of hope. How has seeing so many different cultures shape your understanding of what people truly need to achieve spiritual fulfillment?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that I do it, because I love to be in these different cultures and I love to see it. Like I remember a number of years ago, I was in Africa, I was in Ghana, and I was speaking at different banquets and different things for like groups like healthcare professionals or law enforcement or business people, whatever the case may be. And then I had this series of big meetings where I was like on this not so stable, like 15-foot high stage. And it wasn't like a stadium seating. It was like a massive flat area. So there were people, thousands and thousands and thousands of people, but all flat. So that's why I had to be so elevated up so people could see. So we're having like the worship time. People are like singing, and all of a sudden, and the only way I can describe it is to use sort of a secular, like a Congo line formed, like the African people started getting in this line and started like doing like a dance. Now imagine, it wasn't all the thousands of people, but it was hundreds of people. And they're just like, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, the joy of these people, these people are so lacking, if you want to talk material things, than what we have here in America. And they have so much joy and they're just praising God. And I was like, wow, that was that was a paradigm shifter for me. I've never forgotten that. And whenever I start to lose my joy or think that somehow, woe is me, I just think about those people. And so that was a marvelous experience. I was in Fiji one time, South Pacific, middle of nowhere. And I did this conference and I kept speaking to these leaders and they wouldn't let me stop speaking, to the point where I said, could we take a break? I had to like lay down and take a quick nap because hours and hours, they just kept more. I had all this material, but I never planned on sharing all of it. I was just going to pick and choose which one. And just their desire to learn, like they're like, we need this. We got to become better leaders. And we need, so they, just that desire, and again, the kind of, if you're going to be successful, you've got to have that kind of teachable heart and a learner's desire to just be like a lifelong learner. So that was a marvelous thing that it taught me. And man, I could talk about, I was in Latvia one time and, Estonia, Tallinn, Estonia, which is like one of these ancient cities. There's several of them around the world. Like Bruges, Belgium is another. It's like everything is the same as it was hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It's bizarre to walk. You're like, where are the modern buildings? Like it's all, and I went to do a church service and preach, and it was the former communist hall. And I just sat there and thought, the communists who built their entire belief system on atheism and God is not real. And now their hall, and it was big auditorium, is now being used as a church, right? Just like, wow, just mess up your mind, just mess up your mind. And really I could talk about it forever. But what I will say, you talk about my message of hope. Yes. Guess what? Everyone needs, wherever you live. I've been on 6 continents. And someday I'm going to get to that seventh continent, Antarctica.
Oh,
and I'm
man.
going to speak at the only church that they have on that whole continent. And I'm going to say I've done it in all 7 continents, but I've done 6, and people need hope. And that's what I love to share.
Yeah, I would love to hear the stories when you make it there. I watched the documentary. I don't know if you've seen it, of Will Smith going there. He actually.
Oh, no, I didn't know. I saw that he was doing something, but I didn't know Antarctica was one of them. I have to watch that.
Yeah, he went to the North Pole and the South Pole. It was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But your core mission is always to help people, live a greater life, which is also the theme of your latest devotional, Greater, daily inspiration to increase your faith. For a listener who feels stuck right now, what is the very first step they should take to unlock their greater life?
It's got to be belief. You've got to just choose to believe it can happen. That miracles can happen, that the impossible can become possible, that is a reality. The Bible says what's impossible with man is possible with God. And what activates it is belief, is faith. In fact, the Bible says it's impossible to please God without faith. So what makes impossible possible is when you stop doing the impossible and start doing the possible. And that means believing God, having faith that God can do it, so that over-believers become overachievers. That really, the belief. I just saw a brand new book just came out like this week, not a Christian book, secular book, Beyond Belief, but it's like a neuroscientist take. And I love the neuroscience stuff because all it does is confirm stuff.
Right, it confirms
wisdom from 3,000 years ago. They're like, yeah, the brain works this way and it does this and what you need to do. Oh, you mean like it says in the book of Proverbs that was written 3,000 years ago? Yeah, no kidding. So, but I do believe that the greater life, and I think everyone should live the greater life. And I think you can live the greater life, but you will only live the greater life. There's much involved in it, but it will only happen first. The starting point is, I believe it can happen. Mm-hmm. I believe I can live a greater life. I believe I'm not here to just get by. I'm here to flourish, and that the Bible calls it the abundant life. The word means with surplus. God doesn't want us to eke out a life. He wants a life of surplus for us in all areas of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Now, through your one-on-one executive coaching and consulting, you help leaders achieve deep personal and professional breakthroughs, including myself. What would you say is the common blind spot you see in today's leaders, especially when it comes to fostering a culture of inspiration and productivity?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to words and communication. The words that you speak really, 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 really matter. And if you're not careful, you can go around complaining or saying it's too hard, or we got a bad break, or the competition's better than us, or they got lucky, or you can say a lot of negative things where you're just like, this isn't fair. And all of that is not going to help you as a leader or your team or your people one bit. It's so crucial to choose your words carefully. And those words need to be positive, optimistic, inspiring words. And it needs to be can do. We can do this. I say this to a lot of people. I said it to my wife a long time ago, and every once in a while I'll sprinkle it in. But the other day, she was not, she did a weird thing. She worked part-time her whole life. And then a few years ago, when she doesn't even have to work at all, if she doesn't want to, she chooses to go full-time. Odd, but that's her choice, and there's reasons for it. But sometimes it gets to her because she's used to working. For years she worked Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, she had a 4-day weekend every week of her life, and now she's working. So she's kind of grumbling a little. And then when she's about to walk out the door, she turns to me and she says, I don't have to go to work today. I get to go to work. Yes, you get to. You get to. That's what you got. That's what you have to have. Like, I get to, I get to do this. I don't have to do it. And I just think leaders really they've got to create the kind of environment through their words and their communication that inspires people. And you look at some of the greatest leaders that really saved countries and empires. And I'll just use, like, in America, Abraham Lincoln. I mean, he saved this country. There's just simply no doubt about it. We wouldn't be we wouldn't be the United States of America without him. And his words were incredible. Not only his words to fight against the evil of slavery and to, put an axe to that root and say, this isn't going to be who we are. But then after victory to not, to be gracious to the losers and not bury them like we could have. Then you look at someone like Winston Churchill. And I mean, it looks bad. It looks really bad. And they're getting bombed. And this guy, just with his words, inspired these people to believe. And of course, by the way, his private words to our president, FDR, that finally got us to join in. And of course, when we joined in is when the war turned. So his private words and his public words really made the difference. So leaders, you got to be someone who is good at communication. Not that to be a great speaker, you just have to be a good at communicating, again, interpersonally, not just in some large way, mass communication. And you've got to say words that are uplifting, that are hopeful, and that are motivational and that are inspirational.
But before we wrap up, you speak of leaders, you wear a lot of titles yourself: thought leader, speaker, author, founder, coach for high impact living. I always wonder, who feeds the feeder? How do you personally maintain clarity, the vision and purpose when you're pouring so much energy in and empowering others? How do you get refilled? How do you get your cup refilled?
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. I've taught many times to leaders, and drawn a little diagram. Yeah, if it's going out this direction, it better be coming in this direction. Otherwise you'll become. And of course, what happens is you read these stories and leaders make these big boo-boos and mistakes and and I use boo-boo because I'm trying to be nice, but some of them just blow things up, man. And it hurts. It hurts a lot of people. And it's because they haven't continued to fill themselves. So I really do think it starts, and I know this might almost sound shameless to talk about devotions, but I really do believe, from a guy who wrote 2 devotional books, but that's the reason I wrote them. I think that's where it starts. You got to have your own time with God. I never let my feet hit the floor before I spend my time with God. Long before mindfulness and meditation and all these other things, I've been talking to God, listening to God. All my best ideas I've ever gotten have come there. I wouldn't trade my hour of power in the morning, early morning, for anything in the world. That's where I stay grounded. That's where God fills me up. And that's where I receive guidance. And that's where I pour out all of my burdens to God. And by the way, and also have my gratitude, because gratitude's a part of it, like looking for all the good stuff that is going to happen. I had something yesterday where I got a piece of disappointing news about a speaking engagement that I was really looking forward to and I thought was going to happen. But I also got a great piece of news that I'm going to do another one of the Bible app video verses of the day, which is over 1 million people. Fantastic. And you know what? I'm going to focus on the good. I'm not going to dwell on the negative. I'm going to focus on the positive. So I think that's a big part of it, is just, and then I'm a reader. I'm a reader. I am a reader. If you were here in this office with me, you'd see there are thousands of books here, because I am a reader. I'm a guy. And I do surround myself with I was just down in Miami, with Tim Story, who's one of my best longtime buddies. and we've known each other since college, and we encourage each other. Iron sharpens iron, the Bible says. So I like to be around people that will fill me up. And then, people who will say, hey, you should read this, like you should read this. That's really good. And I love to do that. I just did that for somebody just the other day. I said, hey, get this book. It's a really good book. You should read it. And so people recommend things to me. So I think you got to read. You got to have your base with God. That's non-negotiable. If you're gonna give it out, you've got to bring it in. There's no doubt. And then go back to this travel thing, Sean, like that fills me too. Like getting away from the constant drumbeat of responsibilities, right? And work, and just exit the scene. And people don't believe this. I've said it so many times, but I mean, I'm not like bringing my computer with me to work. Like, I'm not doing that. I'm not calling in. Like, people used to call my executive assistant and go, we know you're talking to Pastor Rick every day. So she's like, no, I'm not. He's not calling in. Like, it's not happening. And so you can't get to him. Like, he's gone. He's off. He's not reachable. And so I really just try to, again, get into those cultures, experience these places, the people, and always come back with lots of ideas and thoughts. And yeah, it's good stuff.
That's great. Well, before we conclude, you're looking at this 250 episode. This is a special edition. And how ironic, this is the 250 year of our country, too.
I know, I just said that to somebody.
But as you look beyond this 250th episode of the Point of Impact podcast and your upcoming book project, what is the next big thing for you and your mission to inspire millions?
Yeah, well, I got a lot of dreams. I did a weekly declaration on Monday on social media. And if you didn't see it, you should, on, dreams becoming reality. And then I talked more about it on Tuesday. So both Monday and Tuesday, I was talking about dreams, because I still have a lot of dreams. And some of them I'm probably not ready to say quite yet, but I'm pursuing a couple of big things that I'm pursuing. What I would say is, in regards to this podcast, is, yeah, we need to find a way to market it. We've really let it be a word of mouth kind of thing. And we probably, people find they're like, oh my gosh, this is great. Where has this been? Why have I not heard of it? We really haven't done the marketing and maybe the social media stuff that I heard someone say, hard for me to hear this and to agree with it, but they said it doesn't matter anymore who's best. It only matters who's best known. Mm-hmm. And I thought, man, I don't like that, because I want to be best. But I get what they're saying. Like, best known becomes best. And so it's we got to work on that, because we got lots of good content here, and we want to make sure that people can access it for sure.
We do. And I definitely appreciate you allowing me to be a part of this monumental episode. I just want to say, for the record, for those that are listening, you share so many gems. You've been so instrumental in my life over 15 years now. And like, I was just listening to it. I feel like I'm more privy to your information than anybody. I might be wrong, but let me think that.
You might not be wrong.
I'm working on some of your book projects. I'm reading your material over and over. I helped produce the podcast. There was something that you said on a recent episode about the difference between excellence and perfection. And I just love that. And I share that with my son this past week. I just pray that you would be encouraged and God will continue to bless you and give you the energy to keep doing what you're doing. It's not in vain. And
thank you, Sean. And you, of course, have been a huge part of this, because what do I know about anything about podcasts except talking in a mic? Everything else is Sean Anthony. He's your guy. He makes it all happen. I appreciate that. And yes, you've done 3 of my books, audio books. So you if you get audiobooks, you're listening to Sean. You're not listening to me. It's a much better voice. So it's been great to work with you. And success always means it's other people. You never get there by yourself. You better have a great team around you. So thanks for being on the team.
All right. It's the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Take care.
You've been listening to the Point of Impact podcast with Rick McDaniel. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to you joining us for our next episode.